The tower went quiet and I heard the radio click by itself while the yard lights stayed on like noon. Eddie said, "I swear, someone else was in here when they locked the doors." He said it low, like he didn't want whoever it was to hear. We were up there after the mess in the yard. They shoved us in the tower to keep us out of the way, then they forgot us, or left us. It felt like we were resting after a fight. My hands shook when I picked up the guard's blanket. It was a borrowed thing, heavy and damp, warm like it came off someone else's back. I wrapped it around my shoulders anyway. I pressed the button on the radio. I said, "Hello, Control, you got us stuck in here." The radio clicked at me. No voice. Just a click. Then a hiss. Then it said my number. 41,726. It said it like a roll call. 41,726. 41,726. Then it clicked again and shut up. I think I laughed once. It sounded wrong. Eddie was by the window, looking down at the stairs outside. He kept sweeping the spotlight along the metal steps, slow, left to right and back. The beam looked thick in the night air. It found shiny places. Wet. He stopped and breathed hard. "Look," he said. I looked. The light sat on a fresh print. Barefoot. Water. Then another showed up, on the next step down, while he held the light still. No one was there to make it. It just appeared like the step was sweating, and then it made a shape. I tasted metal in my mouth. We had a restraint chair in the corner. The straps hung there. Loose. No one in it. The straps were wet too, like someone licked them. I didn't touch it. I keyed the radio again. "Control," I said. The radio clicked. Then our numbers came back, mine and his, but cut up, wrong. 417, 26, 39,018. 39,018. That was Eddie's number. It said them out of order like a cough. His cough came after it, hollow and far. He put his hand to his chest. "You all right?" I said. He nodded, and then shook his head, and then nodded again. He looked like he was trying to find the right one. Something breathed in the vent over our heads. Not a whistle. A breath. In, then out, slow, like someone matching us. It made the hair prick under the damp blanket. My ears rang a little. Pressure, like when you go up fast in an elevator. The foam around the vent had yellow stains. I stood under it, stupid, listening, then stepped away when it exhaled right into my hair. I wiped my head like that would help. The key ring on the wall started to tap the metal backboard. Not hard. Tap, tap, tap. Little taps, like it brushed against the steel every time the vent breathed. I stared at it. It tapped again when I looked away. I told myself it was just the air moving. My mouth went dry and full at the same time. Eddie said, "We need to get the hell out." He coughed again. It sounded hollow, like he had a bottle in his throat. He spat on the floor and wiped it with his shoe like it mattered. I went to the door and tried the knob. It was locked, like always. I banged. Nobody answered. I banged with my shoulder just to do something. The radio clicked. 41,726, it said, soft. Then it copied Eddie's cough, one beat late, and I felt my ears throb. We shoved the filing cabinet in front of the door anyway, like that changed it. We dragged the chair and pushed it against the cabinet. The legs squealed. I hated that sound. I looked at the kettle on the little hot plate. There was a box of tea bags, sugar, salt packets from the break room drawer. I tore some open and dumped the salt in the kettle and sloshed water from the jug. It was all I could think to do. Heat and salt. You hear about it in here. For bites. For worms. For sores. For anything that wants you soft. The kettle clicked on. I stood by it and watched the line of steam start, thin, then thick. The vent breathed a little faster. The keys tapped along with it. Tap, 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 tap. I took the kettle by the handle and poured along the vent grate. The steam curled up at me. It hit my face, and I breathed it by accident. It felt like sharing a breath with someone too close. My chest shivered. Eddie swore. "Don't do that," he said, like I had let something in already. The spotlight still sat on the stairs through the window. The wet prints crawled up another step while we watched. One. Then one higher. Then one. Slow. We could not see legs or shadow. The light made it honest anyway. Eddie dropped the beam for a second and coughed again. He folded over like it hurt, like something grabbed his ribs from inside. When he stood, sweat had ghosted around his eyes. He said, "Turn the light on me." I did. I don't know why. His face looked wrong under that stink white. Too bright. The skin under his cheeks rose and fell while he breathed, but not with his nose. A second push. Off beat. Off from the one that moved his shoulders. I saw a small tug under his left eye, like a thumb pressed from the inside and let go. He closed his mouth fast and backed up. He said, "Stop looking." He said, "I'm fine." He said it again. I believe him? I wanted to. The radio said 39,018. 39,018. It said it softer each time. Then it did his cough one beat late again. He flinched at the sound like it pulled a string inside him. He grabbed his chest and then grabbed the damp blanket on my shoulders without asking. He pulled it around himself, like he was cold. The blanket gave up more heat, like breathing too. I turned the kettle off and put it on the floor. I tore more salt packets with my teeth and spread the grains on the vent edges and the windowsill and around our shoes. The salt looked silly there. Some stuck on my sweating palms. I licked it and hated myself for it. We tried the radio again. I held the button and said, "We need the stair door. Release it." The radio clicked and held, like someone else had their thumb on the other side. No voice, just a breath. In, out. My ears pressed hard inside. I swallowed. The pressure did not leave. The keys tapped 3 times, then stopped, then tapped faster, like a coin falling down a grate rung by rung. Eddie said, "Screw this." He grabbed the spotlight and went to the door. He pulled the cabinet back a foot. It squealed again. He coughed while he did it. It sounded so hollow it made me think of empty rooms. He held his chest and I saw his shirt move twice. 1, 2, 1, 2, not together. He threw the bolt and twisted the knob. It did turn. The outer lock was still on. The door pulled open an inch against it, then stuck. Cold air came in through the crack. Wet air. I smelled mop water. I leaned into the door with him. We got 2 inches. I put my cheek in the gap and looked down the stairs. The steps were wet. It looked like someone had come up with a bucket and then emptied it. The prints were there, brighter, as if a small light lived inside each one until the water dried. They were pointed up at us. The light from the yard made the edges hard. I slid my hand out with a salt packet and sprinkled it into the gap. It slid down a step. It melted and made a little bright line. Then it just ran and disappeared. We tried to force the door more. It scraped the frame and the cabinet legs. The pressure in my ears climbed. I bit down and it didn't pop. I said, "I can't hear right." Eddie said, "What?" He didn't hear me either. He pushed his mouth close to mine and said it again. I felt his breath. It was warm and wet and came in two parts. I turned my head away and he laughed once, and it sounded broken. We gave up and closed the door. We slid the cabinet back into it. The keys on the wall tapped twice like thumbs, then hung still. I turned the spotlight and caught the restraint chair in the beam. The straps moved a little and then lay flat. The daylight bulbs over us flickered once. The vent breathed in, held. Then it breathed out long, like a person after a run. My chest matched it without wanting to. I felt a tug under my ribs, small, like a fish taking the line. I pressed my hand there. It stopped. We waited a minute without talking. Eddie wrapped himself in the blanket and rocked his shoulders. He sounded like he was saying a prayer, but it was just his hollow cough stuck in a loop. I went to the corner and opened the fuse box because I wanted to do something. There was a red lever under a plastic shield. It said emergency vent release. Vent. I read it out loud like that. Vent it, I said. It made sense in my head. Vent it. Let it out. Maybe it only wanted its own air. Eddie walked over slow with the blanket on him like a robe. He said, "Don't." He said, "Use the water. Use fire." He held the kettle up like we should pour it on the grate. He took a breath and it split again. One, then the other. It made my stomach twist to watch. His skin tugged by itself under the jaw, a little rolling bump like something shoulder-smalled under there. He winced and covered it and looked at me like he was asking me not to say anything. I couldn't stand it. We got the kettle back on the hot plate and boiled it open. Steam rolled up the wall and curled under the vent lip. I held the kettle with my jacket and threw it, quick, across the grate. The water cried off the metal. The room got bright with heat fog. My face went slick, then cold. It smelled like hot dust and something sweet. The vent breathed out and took the steam with it. The radio clicked and said my number again. 41,726. It said it like a whisper, then coughed once, one beat late, like it learned how. The keys tapped wild until one key slipped out and hit the floor. I heard it skitter. I didn't see where it went. The prints were at the top of the stairs now. We didn't watch them climb. They were just there on the landing. Water ran under the door and made my socks damp. The damp warmth of the blanket moved against the floor near the door. I didn't know if it was from us or not. Eddie set the kettle down. He looked at me like I had kicked him. Then he looked past me at the window and his mouth opened. He said, "There." I swung the spotlight back on him by accident. It hit his face hard. In that white, his chest moved two different ways again. One high, with his shoulders. One low, near his ribs, like a small animal borrowing his breath. It was a second behind, always late. The skin over his cheek fluttered up and stuck, then slid back down. He screamed but kept his lips closed. He sounded like the radio. Then he grabbed me. He slammed me into the filing cabinet and got his mouth very close to mine. Too close. I jammed my forearm across his throat. He was strong. He wanted me to breathe with him. That is how it felt. Like he needed us to match. His breath came in and pushed at mine, hot and wet, and I could not help but take some of it. It tasted like salt and tea and something old. My ears popped, and then the pressure came back twice as bad. I saw a dark under his tongue, like a bruise that could move. I grabbed the kettle. I swung it. The hot water hit his side and made his shirt stick. He cried without opening his mouth. He backed off and hit the wall. Steam rose around his face and made him look like he had lost his edges. His second breath went tight fast, like it was running. His hand pressed to his ribs, and something under his palm pushed back. The skin tugged from underneath and slid toward the middle, slow, like it knew where it wanted to go. I ripped the plastic cover off the red lever. I did it fast. Before I could think, I said, "I'm opening it." I said, "Vent it." Then I pulled. The mechanism thunked. A hatch above the vent popped. Cold air whirled. The pressure in my ears went bad, then worse. Then it felt like standing in a wind tunnel inside a bag. All the steam got sucked up. The blanket on the floor puffed. Papers flew. The radio screamed one long feedback, and then it turned into a breath, copying us, copying the room. Eddie staggered forward. He had both hands to his mouth now. He wasn't keeping it in. He was keeping it from me. He tried to say don't. He tried to say my name. The second breath under his ribs poked out like a fist and slid up quick, under his skin, across his chest, up his throat. His skin tugged and wriggled. I saw the lump cross his collarbone and flatten and then rise under his cheek again. He gagged. He looked right at me. His eyes begged. The radio said 39,018 in his same voice. He fell into me and we went down. The blanket wrapped us both. It was hot and it was wet, and it felt like another person hugging too close in a shower. He was on top of me, and his mouth found mine because there was nowhere else for it to go. Our teeth banged. He coughed into me. I tried to turn my head. He grabbed the back of my neck with both hands and held me there like a drowning man. His breath blew into me, and I breathed it because my body did not ask me. It came in two parts. One, then the other, late. The late one pushed down deep and hit something soft, and I felt it move inside me. Not the air. A weight. A slick. A slide up behind my heart. I screamed into him. He screamed into me. We were the same mouth for a second. The whole room breathed us. Something thin and strong slid across my palate and pushed at the back of my nose. It tugged my skin from the inside like a fishhook pulling me the wrong way. Then it let go. It ran. I felt it slide along my jaw and out under my tongue and down my neck, dragging fire under the skin. It moved like a knot rolling. It did not care about the outside world. It used me. I could not grab it with my hands because it wasn't on top of me anymore. It was under. It found the air rush from the open hatch and went for it. It pulled toward the vent like a wire being reeled in. I tried to clamp my teeth. Stupid, like I could hold it back with that. It slipped anyway. It went up my soft palate and made my ears scream. Pressure blew my head open. Then it was gone. Something wet hit my lip and ran down. It wasn't blood. It was colder. The hatch above the vent slammed on its own weight and then bounced. The keys on the floor chattered when it dropped. Eddie rolled off me and lay on his back. He looked empty. His chest moved once, the normal way. Then it moved again, but nothing filled it. It was just the muscles trying to keep the old rhythm. He blinked slow and looked at me like I was far away. He tried to cough. Nothing came up. He whispered. He vented it, like he didn't know if that was good or bad. I got on my knees and put my ear to his mouth. His breath was thin and alone. He smiled a little at my face so close. He said, "Shared breath," and it sounded like a joke from when we were kids passing smokes under the bleachers. Then his eyes found the ceiling and stayed there. I crawled to the window and looked. The yard lights still burned. The stairs were empty but wet. The prints were gone. Water ran in a line down the middle like a vein. The radio clicked behind me. It said my number, then Eddie's, then mine, then his. Then it did a soft breath, copying me. It did it again, one beat late. It was quiet in the tower. Too quiet. My ears hurt, and the hurt came back when it stopped. I pressed on them and let go and pressed again. I sat at the desk. I found a pen in the cup. My hands left wet spots on the paper. I tried to write what happened. I heard something in the walls going down, inside the tower, like a rat between studs. The hatch door had a smear on it, dull and clear. It led into the building. I pulled the cabinet back in front of the door again. It made no difference. I did this. I pulled the lever. I vented it. I let it out of him and used myself as the bridge. It got what it wanted. Whatever it wasn't stuck anymore. It was in here with us. In every duct. In the rooms. In the breath. The radio clicked once to agree. Then it breathed again, copying me, one beat la. Wait, before you go, don't forget to subscribe. It's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next one. And while you're here, hit like. It keeps the channel going and helps more people find these stories. Go ahead, watch another. You've got time, right? See you in the next one.